How's it going, folks? Recording my Sunday Best Ball Mania draft, as I have every week since it started. Got a little sunburn on my nose, so I'm looking a little bit like Rudolph here. Out playing some tennis, crushed my poor opponent 6-0. And looking like we got pick number 9 in this draft, which sucks balls. Not gonna lie, I have picked at the bottom half of the drafts this year, probably at triple the rate of any other year I can remember. So, no real big news out there. A lot of discussions going on in the Discord for Spike Week and some Twitter things I've noticed. So, kind of talk about some of that after I make a couple picks here. I'm trying to move away a little bit from heavy stacking and super heavy game stacking for the time being, just because I've already got a lot of those types of teams right now. And I want to mix in some more like skinny stacks and more like teams where I'm just making more picks that I prefer based on value and things like that. Just mix it up a bit because like I want to go back to having some of these heavy game stack and heavy stack in general teams when we get into August and stuff. So I like kind of want to mix it up now so that all my early teams don't look the same, and then mix it up later so that all those teams don't look the same. I could take Derrick Henry here. I've only drafted him like once. I don't hate it. I'm not going to take any Derrick Henry on DraftKings at all. So we'll take a share here on Underdog where it's half PPR. I really don't like Derrick Henry at all. I understand he has a plate in his foot and he's heavy and he has a billion touches over the last 2 years. So I'm pretty hard fading him. But I don't mind mixing him like one or two shares if it's particularly on Underdog. Like I said, it's only the second time I've drafted Derrick Henry this entire offseason, and I've drafted 200 teams, so it's fine. I'm also like, I mean, Diggs went before I pick anyway, so it didn't matter. But I'm like way over on Diggs, Adams, and Kelsey as far as ownership goes. Like I just have a ton of those guys. Taking a look at the grid here. Cooper Kupp went second. CeeDee Lamb at the turn. Nice for whoever had picked 6 to get Jamar Chase there. That doesn't really happen too often. Oops. Trying to up my DeAndre Swift ownership right now, so I'm probably just going to take Mark Andrews or Swift here. I have quite a bit of Debo from. I've created quite a bit of Debo that I've picked up. All right, I'm just going to take Mark Andrews. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. Would have been nice to get a wide receiver there. But, I mean, the way things worked out didn't really just make too much sense to take one. Debo would have been a fine pick, but I just have a lot of Debo. So I don't mind going with Mark Andrews there. For me, Andrews and Kelsey, like I like them about the same, but I have a lot more Kelsey because I'm trying to like fade, Derrick Henry, and I'm trying to fade Austin Eckler. So I actually like Kelsey a little bit more than Devontae Adams, although I don't think I really have taken him over Adams. Maybe once or twice. Stephon Diggs is a guy I have to fucking slam the brakes on. North of 24% on Stephon Diggs. And I get him in round 2 a lot, so I can't be taking Stephon Diggs in round 1 for the time being. I don't want to be that exposed to him. I don't think he's that insane of a pick. I do like him quite a bit, but I'd be fine with 16%, twice the field. Like I said, definitely not excited about Derrick Henry as a pick, but felt like about as good a time as any. I just keep picking at the end of these drafts over and over again, and I'm still not taking him when he falls, so whatever. We'll grab a share here and see how things work out. So with Mark Andrews, we could look for a Lamar stack. Lamar stacks are pretty easy since like the only people you really want with Lamar are Andrews and Bateman. I'm not drafting Devin Duvernay. Even though I loved Devin Duvernay coming out in the rookie draft, I feel like there's just too much of a chance they're adding someone else if they don't all get Devin Duvernay shares later. But I'm not even sure that he would beat out like Porsche or whatever the hell that guy's name is. So for Tennessee, what do we got for week 17? I know Baltimore plays Pittsburgh. I think Tennessee plays the Giants, or no, they play Dallas, right? Tennessee does play Dallas, but CeeDee Lamb went before our pick anyway, so we couldn't have made that happen. So probably not a ton that we really want to do with Dallas, unfortunately. Like we could get Gallup or a Tolbert later or something like that. Probably won't go for Dalton Schultz because we have Andrews. I'm not going to want to use that high a draft capital on my second tight end. So not looking great for the week 17 game stack with Derrick Henry. I think that game's like quite bad too. Another reason why I don't like Derrick Henry. So I earlier was able to get a Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Justin Herbert team from the one spot. Brees Hall is my top running back. That was pretty cool. As far as those game stacks, like the super game stacks where you go for them and you're kind of reaching for them a bit, I'm like fine with it, but like I'd just caution you to, kind of chill out a bit on trying to get like them all right now. Like mix in some skinnies, mix in some other types of teams because you have all summer to draft these and you're gonna like okay, ADPs may change where one of these things becomes harder to get, and that would kind of suck, but I don't think it's like that big a deal. Definitely don't need to draft Lamar Jackson on this team at all. So just gonna kind of keep my options open. One of the things I hate about taking Andrews and Kelsey at the end of round one is that like Pitts falling to the end of round 3, beginning of round 4 is just so insane. It's like such an insane pick. Saquon goes. I think we'll just take Mike Williams here. Generally, I like some of these other players more than Mike Williams. I like Pittman and Waddle more. But I want to like leave myself open to get a share of Justin Herbert here because I'm not getting enough Justin Herbert, and I love Justin Herbert. He might go before a pick, and this could backfire, but I would definitely like to have some Herbert shares with Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, like without having them both, because I do have some with them both. But I'd like to stack him some other ways. Like maybe we wait on Gerald Everett as our tight end 2 with this build, or we grab Palmer later. I don't mind. I try to keep it only to 2 pass catchers with a quarterback, which is something that's come up in the Spike Week chat that we've talked to quite a bit because Josh Larkey, one of the guys I follow and talk to offline some, he's like really likes like the heavy stacking, getting like 4 wide receivers. The thought being that like when that offense goes nuclear, it's insane for you. I don't really like it that much because like that offense really has to go nuclear in a way that like very few do. We're gonna take Waddle or Herbert here. Prioritizing Herbert, but I'll take Waddle if Herbert goes. Okay, normally I like Waddle here, but like I said, Herbert's a guy I'm not getting enough of that I definitely don't want to not get enough of, so we'll take Herbert here. And we're going to wait very late, I think, for another tight end and another quarterback. So we have a nice anchor in Derrick Henry, who'll probably be hurt and useless and kill this team, but who cares? Like, going to fire a million bullets, may as well fire a couple on him, although I will not have very many. Like another way to get Herbert shares is like with Eckler, so you can build with like Herbert Eckler and like one of the later guys. I don't hate that at all either because he's like a pass catcher, I try to include the pass catchers as one of my 2 stack guys sometimes with the quarterback, but it's like got to be a guy that actually catches passes. Like I'll do Barkley in lieu of a second wide receiver. I'll do Eckler, ETN, Brees Hall, who we think will catch passes, things like that. Kenny Gainwell is a guy I like to pair with Hurts when you're not getting, if you miss out on some of like the other guys like Goddard and Smith and AJ Brown, because I really want to have a lot of Hurts, so I don't want to like, I want to keep in mind like other ways to build teams with Hurts. So I do like Gainwell's one. I prefer Gainwell a lot on DraftKings to Underdog. This team just with only Mike Williams as wide receiver. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. We got some people going at 0 RB. This guy on the clock has 4 wide receivers. So let's look at this board. Eckler went 5th. That person followed up with Mike Evans, Patrick Mahomes, Deontay, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek, AJ Brown. This team's so insane. Jerry Jeudy, Breece Hall. This team's nuts. Jonathan Taylor team is pretty good too. Jefferson, Debo, Josh Allen, David Montgomery. Yeah, like I keep seeing us in chat kind of talk about how like trying to get unique, but I think we're thinking that like so many players are playing the way we are and thinking the way we are when they're really not. Like if you go through and you look at like how teams are stacked and stuff, people just are like not stacking the way we are, right? Then you got to like think of the whole subset of people that are like Josh Larkey that are like super heavy stacking, where I think most of us in the Spike Week Discord are not super heavy stacking. So there's just like a lot of different ways these teams are getting built, and I don't think like having to do crazy stuff to get super unique is as necessary as people think it is. I have myself been like galbraining too many teams lately, like trying some bully tight end and forcing some game stacks and going with heavy game stacks, and I just like don't think you have to be doing that all the time. Michael Thomas is another guy on my list where I just like I gotta get back off right now. There's too much bad news about his health, and I just have so much Michael Thomas, especially from the Superflex contest, because I was like going absolutely berserk on Jameis Winston in that contest. I have like almost 40% Jameis Winston in that contest. I'm just going to take Bateman here over Godwin. We have a couple members of the Ravens, despite not having Lamar, but that's okay. Really just took Bateman because it was the pick I liked the most there. It didn't really have anything to do with me having Mark Andrews. I think Godwin's going to be pretty slow coming back from this ACL. Kind of have my eye on like Cooks and Drake London. So one thing you want to keep in mind is like, you know, we started this team pretty weak at wide receiver, having Mike Williams as our wide receiver 1. So I'm like definitely not going to take a running back here, because like this is more of what we need to prioritize right now. We're going to hope that Derrick Henry just stomps ass and holds down one running back spot, and then we'll kick the can later. I also like love the value on the late running backs right now. There's like so many running backs going in around like 16, 17, 18 that I like a lot. So really like Darrell Williams down there. I still like Keontae Ingram a bit. If Darrell Williams like doesn't end up as the backup, he will. I like Donta Foreman, Hassan Haskins. Obviously, if you don't have Derrick Henry, that's a guy I'm making a lot of bets on. I think I'm kind of inclined to stay away from Godwin here. We'll see who goes. There's at least 2 wide receivers I would like to take before Godwin. Could take Barks if we want to make another bet on on that team. I don't think I do though. I think I'm just gonna take Elijah Moore. So I end up with a ton of like Garrett Wilson. So I'm kind of trying to like start getting a little Elijah Moore and start fading a little bit of Garrett Wilson. Even though Garrett Wilson's a second ADP, I don't want to fade much of him. But I mean, I'm getting up near 40% Garrett Wilson, which isn't that bad of a thing, I don't think. But take Elijah Moore there. Michael Thomas goes the next pick. I have taken Michael Thomas recently, but like it was when he fell to around 8 or 9. And I was like, okay, fine. It's interesting because like Michael Thomas was key in like doing some recruiting for the Saints this offseason. So like, what the hell is Michael Thomas telling these people? Like, he must either thinks he knows when he's going to be healthy or flat out lying to people. I don't really know what's going on there. Like, I don't understand how he's being used to recruit people and it's working because, like, he was part of what got Jarvis Landry there. He was part of what got Tyrann Mathieu there. So I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he could know when he's going to be back at this point. So we got a guy who took Lamar and Jalen Hurts, James Conner on that team. James Conner, I'm pretty much just fading. I just don't know if the guy can stay healthy for a season. I have taken some, but like he's got to kind of fall. Basically, if like Kyle Pitts is available, I'm not taking James Conner. That's kind of my mentality, unless I have Kelsey or Andrews. But if I don't have Kelsey or Andrews, I'm just not taking James Conner over Kyle Pitts. I just can't do it. It's really weird because like right now there's like a tight end I love in round 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't love Darren Waller, but I do love George Kittle, Pitts, Andrews, and Kelsey. So I'm kind of like leaving most of my drafts with like one of those 4, at least like a very high percentage of them. A lot of QBs going this round. Let's see if we can see this a little bit bigger. Little Brady Fournette. Don't mind that. Russ Judy. I really like this team. Team 2 seems insane. It seems like such a cheat when you have like any of the first 5 picks to me and you get to have like Cup, Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, or Taylor. But like, wouldn't really know, but seems that way. Zone offense went with Treylon there. Like that pick. Seems a little RB heavy, but as long as he doesn't take another one for a while, it doesn't seem too bad. DeAndre Hopkins going in round 6, that seems rich to me. Took a share of Hopkins today earlier on DraftKings in round 9 because I had a Kyler team where I just like didn't wind up with any other stacking. I hadn't taken Hollywood, but I wanted a few Kylers that didn't have Hollywood and had Hopkins, so I kind of like purposely shot for that and ended up getting lucky and getting it because I actually got Hopkins behind ADP, which was nice. Don't like the Hurts team taking Hawkinson. I assume Goddard was available unless that's who this player was. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are definitely the wide receivers I have the most interest in. Don't mind Ayuk. I was going to consider Miles Sanders. I don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire in half PPR much. I like him in full PPR, though. We could go with Ayuk, or we could go with Chris Olave. I think if I'm on the fade Mike Thomas for the time being train, then I should probably be taking Chris Olave a little bit higher than he's going. I think Ayuk would have been a fine pick there too. I have a lot of Ayuk just because I have a lot of Lance stacks right now. So change it up, go with Chris Olave. Maybe we'll get a Winston at value or something and have Winston Herbert. That's be a pretty nice tandem. Generally, I like to wait a little bit later on my second quarterback if I have like a Herbert, but we'll kind of see what it looks like if and when we have a Winston available to us. Kind of have my eye on Ayuk, Sky Moore, maybe Tyler Lockett, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson would give us 3 week 10 buys, which is fine. Probably would not want to push it to 4. So that might close out week 10 for us if we do take Garrett Wilson. Just something to keep in mind. Don't mind Kenneth Walker or James Harris. So don't mind waiting a while on running back. Tyler Lockett is a player I really don't have much of. Ayuk or Tyler Lockett? Tyler Lockett or Ayuk? I think I'm going to take Tyler Lockett just because I have none of him. Literally just never draft him. And he's a week 17 game stat comeback with Elijah Moore. Those two are correlated, so that's cool. Should probably try to get a Pittsburgh player at some point to go with Bateman and Andrews, but we'll see how that goes. Don't really see a world where we get any Rams to come back with our Chargers. Maybe this is a draft where we could try and get Darrell Henderson and hope Cam Akers gets hurt. Because Darrell Henderson's a guy I'm grossly underweight on. I just don't get him ever. It's mostly because I'm so hyper targeting getting Alex Madison and Michael Carter. Especially Michael Carter, because I'm so overweight on Breece Hall that I want to have some insurance by also being overweight on Michael Carter. And I love the Jets playoff schedule. So I'm always prioritizing Michael Carter and Madison, and I think because of that, I'm just not getting Darrell Henderson much. This would kind of be a good spot to get him. Where we have Herbert and Mike Williams. Because, I'm not sure what else there is really for Rams other than Darrell Henderson left. There's Van Jefferson, Higbee. Oh, no thank you on Higbee. He's another guy I draft so little that maybe we could fit him in one of these. Whoever is getting Garrett Wilson at this point is getting an absolute steal. But it won't be us. I think Ayuk over Lockett would have been nice, but like I said, it just have so little Lockett. May as well have some Lockett where I have some Derrick Henry, right? So if I get absolutely destroyed by having barely none of either, maybe this team wins it all. I think that Hawkinson pick should have just been Dallas Goedert on the team that had Hurts. McCaffrey, Javonte, Cam Akers, Keenan Allen. It's a pretty good team. It's just naked Joe Burrow. That's what I'm saying. People we got to calm down about trying to get unique when yeah, sure, the 40 people that are in our Spike Week chat all talk about this stacking and that, but we're not very many people compared to this thing. What are we 600 of or six? We're just not that big of a group. Five picks away. It's a couple week 17 game stack options on the board for us. It's a good chance neither one of them makes it to us, though. So let's see. There's also some other things that I like on the board. If I want to just keep drafting people that I never draft, I could take Devin Singletary because it's another guy I just never draft. I like MVS. Oh, he went. Miami man. Make your pick, buddy. All right, I'm going to take Michael Gallup here. Week 17 comeback with Derrick Henry. Like that correlation. Probably do need to at least somewhat focus on running back with our next pick, but we will see what's available. Just a few people I don't mind grabbing at running back. Lately, I am absolutely obliterating the button on Sony Michel in the late rounds. I feel like he should be going way, way earlier. I like him much more than Mostert. So there's a few shows I watch where they talk to like team reporters, team insiders, and one, they were talking about there was a guy who followed the Niners. He was talking about their situation and Jimmy G and Lance and all that. And another guy was talking about the Raiders situation, like how he thought targets might work out. And there was a guy, Madison went. That sucks. I really like Madison. There was a guy from Miami talking about the Dolphins situation. He basically said, listen, like Chase Edmonds and Sonny Michel are locked and loaded to make the roster, and like the rest of the people, it's a battle between Ahmed, Mostert, and Gaskin for who's going to get the other two spots. One of those three people is going to get cut. I mean, and Mostert could just get cut himself basically by just not being healthy. So here we're going to take either Devin Singletary or I think Rashad Penny. Penny, of course, already hurt because that's what he does. We could take Claypool here to be our comeback to the Steelers guys. Don't love it. I'd rather try and get Pickens later because, oh, thank God, he went anyway. So now that takes it off the table. I'm just going to take Singletary. That's fine. I don't ever take him, so. Got Derrick Henry and Devin Singletary. I really wanted to prioritize getting a running back there, so that's why I didn't really want to take Chase Claypool anyway. We'll see if we can get Pickens later as our comeback for the Baltimore guys. Freiermuth was somehow still there on our next pick. We could consider him in closing out tight end, though I think that's a little bit too high a capital when we have Mark Andrews. I wouldn't despise that though, depending on what running backs are available. I'm currently kind of in the chilling out on wide receivers unless something really pops out at me. This is such a weird team. This is has all players that I don't draft much of. Let me count the players I don't get much of. Don't get much Justin Herbert. I get almost zero Henry. I get almost zero Singletary. Don't get much Mike Williams. Get tons of Bateman. Elijah Moore's a guy I don't get a lot of. Tyler Lockett, zero. Gallup, close to zero. So really kind of liking this team in that I don't really like the players on it, but I like the fact that I'm getting a lot of players mixed in that I'm not necessarily hard fading. I just don't draft that often. There are a couple that I'm hard fading, obviously Derrick Henry being my first round pick and one of my hardest fades, but obviously not fading him to 0%. I would not draft him in a full PPR under any circumstance. So figure if I'm going to have a few, it'll be in the puppies and Best Ball Mania. And at least, like, in Best Ball Mania, if he somehow stays healthy, which I think is nigh impossible, you get the big time payoff. Nothing's super standing out at me at wide receiver. We could pick up Jarvis Landry and kind of go for a 3-stack if we can get Winston. Winston's like moved up a lot is the problem, so it's a little harder to take Winston as like your QB2 when you're rocking a team with Justin Herbert. There's a few running backs on the board I kind of like. Got to keep in mind, I gotta like remind myself not to take Isaiah Spiller here because I don't want to have, I guess, like him as the second pass catcher to Justin Herbert. That's something I have not done at all. It's actually like a worthy thought. Like, of course, Austin Eckler is like the guy. I guess if Austin Eckler's hurt, that's kind of a negative for Herbert. So maybe we don't want to play for that scenario. But I don't know. It's at least something worth thinking because Spiller can be a heck of a pass catcher as well. I think I'd rather just like play for Fournette gets hurt and take Rashad White than that. So I'm kind of liking Penny, Pierce, and Rashad White as options. Like Michael Carter quite a bit. There's that Darrell Henderson. I feel like Penny has by far the highest upside here. Definitely falling because he's got this injury thing going on. So let's scoop him up. I kind of like to stick to, I think, 5 running backs on this team, although that might not be necessary. This definitely seems like a 2 QB, 2 tight end team. So I think we can go 5 or 6 running backs. I kind of want to lean 5 because we have Derrick Henry. Like in the event that he stays healthy, we really don't need 6. And like we're kind of playing for that event to be the truth. Darrell Henderson is just hard to get. I mean, he's in such a weird ass range. I mean, he has the same reasons to like him as Michael Carter, right? I would normally be like smashing Michael Carter in this pick. So, well, that takes that off the table. So I guess Van Jefferson is our only path to that victory. Don't really love much of anything. Could take Van Jefferson. I really don't want to take Dameon Pierce or Spiller. Yeah. All right. I'll just take Michael Carter. We do have some Seattle and Jets game stack pieces here. I think we're going to shut down now on that game because we got 4 pieces of that game. We got Lockett, Moore, Michael Carter, and Penny. I think that's as much as we want to do there. Really wasn't building that too heavily as a game stack. Just kind of worked out. But I do think you want to be mindful of where you want to stop on some of these things. So we really only need to draft 1 more running back, I think. This is a little hard team for me to build just because I'm not used to having these players. So, like, my autopilot of being like, oh, I have these guys, I'm building this, I'm looking for that later, just it feels like kind of off just because I'm like looking at players I'm not used to seeing on my roster. Van Jefferson went, so I think if we want a comeback in that Chargers-Rams game. I feel like Tyler Higbee might be the only option. Guess we could take a last round Kyren Williams if we wanted to, but don't really like that. Kyren Williams is a guy I have plenty of from the pre-draft big boards, so I don't need no more. Taking Higbee over like any of these people would be like disgusting. Like the tight ends that are on the board is way better. Definitely not looking into that. There's a couple players on the board that I really, really like that I would like to get one of. Love David Bell and I love KJ Osborne at their cost. I don't really like Algier that much. I know I went like nuts for him in the pre-draft, and I was like super happy when he landed on a team where he could start. But like, I was super happy about the fact that I was having my round 18 or 20 picks kind of come to value. I'm not as excited now. Either going to take George Pickens or Winston here. Josh Palmer available too. Guess that makes that easy. So we're all done at quarterback. Got Winston and Olave. Don't really need running back lit up at the moment because I think we're not going to take one for a while. So I wouldn't mind waiting till like the last at least 3 rounds to take another running back. I wonder why Rob Tonnen's like not being taken at all. He's still rehabbing. Somebody just draft Hunter Henry, please. So looking at, I guess, Josh Palmer. Probably going to take Higbee or Josh Palmer here. Really don't like the idea of taking Higbee over Hunter Henry. Find it quite gross. All right, let's just take Josh Palmer. So we've got Mike Williams, Palmer, and Herbert together. Looks like we might just not have our Rams come back in that game, which is fine. Depending how desperate we get at second tight end, we might end up having to take Gerald Everett, but I would rather avoid it. He's kind of like the last tight end I'm really comfortable in 2 tight end builds with, though. There are some other guys like Hayden Hurst or whatever, but Hayden Hurst is the same bye week as Mark Andrews, and I am not a person that likes to take a 0 on purpose. It's generally not in my plans. I think David Bell is a really good pick. Feels a tier above the other players available to me. Wandell's a guy I really like. You know that between Galladay and Tony, one of them is getting hurt, so Sterling Shepard, I'm like not sure he can come back at all. He's got a torn Achilles he's recovering from. So we drafted the big dog, Derrick Henry. Did not see that coming. Problem is when you're just drafting at the end of the draft, every draft, I mean, you got to change some things up. You can take some different combos at pick 12, like pull some guys up in ADP to like get a little bit unique that way. I don't think that's the worst, but it's rough. Kind of have my eye on David Bell and Higbee. David Bell went. Don't really think Higbee will make it to us. Might grab Evan Ingram or Daryl Williams. I think Daryl Williams will be the handcuff to Connor. There's some chance it could be Keontae Ingram, but I think that team and where that team is going to be is more a team that would use Daryl Williams. So there were some people arguing in the chat about Spike Week chat about like, hey, look at last year when it was Khalil Herbert, not Damian Williams. After Montgomery got hurt on the Bears, but the Bears were also like a dumpster fire piece of shit team, so didn't really care about using a younger player that might have more upside, right? I think that the Cardinals view themselves as like a contender playoff team. So I think if Connor goes down, they're more likely to use the experienced guy in Daryl Williams. Like, I think Ingram would have to severely outplay Daryl Williams to get there, especially since Daryl Williams does like everything that they want a running back to do there. Like, they obviously don't care much about efficiency if they're rocking James Conner, right? They just want a guy who can score on the goal line and a guy that can catch some passes. He does all those things. I'm going to bring up the Devin Duvernay around 15. That feels unnecessary. Fuck. Somebody took Higbee as their third tight end. That's super lame. It would have been awesome if you made it to us. So we are officially not bringing anyone back in the Rams game, which stinks. But I don't know. I don't really feel like we had any great time to. I was fully prepared to take Darrell Henderson way above ADP to make that happen, and just didn't. All right, we'll take Evan Ingram. That's how I feel about that pick. So we got 3 picks left. Don't need any more tight ends. At running back, Herbert interests me. Daryl Williams interests me. Foreman, Haskins not on this team. Keontae Ingram does a bit. Sony Michel does. I really think Sony Michel should be going 4 or 5 rounds ahead of where he goes. Much prefer him to Mostert. He has like a history of being a goal line back, right? Where like Mostert like kind of did it one year. He's 30 years old and he kind of did it one time. He's also injured and not even able to attend any of these workouts that they're doing or anything. He does have history with the coach and stuff and the coaching staff, which is good. And he also got paid like $3 million. It's just not nothing. So I don't want to like completely throw Mostert in the dumpster, but if you're asking me like Mostert versus Sony, I'll take Sony. Daryl Williams went. So Khalil Herbert standing out to me. Wandell is standing out to me. Got to admit, after those two, I'm less than excited. Khalil Herbert or Wandell. Khalil Herbert's someone I like really haven't gotten much of and is a good handcuff. So snatch him. They play the Lions week 17. You never know. Could be a big week for Herbert if Montgomery is out. Non-terrible matchup. So we have the option of adding another running back if we want it, or going with 9 wide receivers. Kind of feel like I'd rather go with 9 wide receivers because like we're basically like playing as if Derrick Henry is locked down one running back spot. Then we need one of these 4 clowns to be the other one. Maybe if things go perfectly for us, we've got running back smashing in our flex, but when you do like hero or zero RB, that's kind of you're going to need exceptional luck to get to the point where you're also having a running back smashing in your flex spot. It is not impossible, but it isn't super likely. Let's just like star up some players that I really like. Of course, this is what I mean about running backs. They're like all running backs I'm starring there. I think that's enough running backs that we like. Yeah. Don't really like James Washington much. Ryan Edwards is like so-so. Pringles, so-so. Paris Campbell, someone I like have not drafted much of. I don't mind Cedric Wilson. He feels like he's like undervalued, but like it also makes total sense. We do have Winston, so we could take a shot on like Marcus Callaway. Danny Gray is the guy I like a lot. It's like super fast. Still think there's some chance Slayton gets in there. Cole Beasley probably should be drafted in these drafts. He's been talking to like the Titans and the Cowboys about a possible return to the Cowboys, like or going to the Titans. Either one of those, I think he would shoot up an ADP. I think that would be the final nail in the James Washington coffin. It would obviously hurt Jalen Tolbert some. Probably means CeeDee Lamb is going to be playing outside like all the time, which might be real bad for CeeDee Lamb. I'm not totally sure how I feel about that, but yeah, I hate that I probably need to include him. Paris Campbell, that is. Zay Jones is another guy I don't mind. So we're up in 3 picks, and we have an assortment of clowns here. I keep trying to get Bryan Edwards and like never get Bryan Edwards. Just always seems to go a few picks before I'm ready to pick him. Snoop Connor. Interesting. Bryan Edwards is a guy I could see not even like winning a starting job in Atlanta despite the poor competition he's got. But also, I just like his upside still. I'm still stuck believing because I'm a fool. Let's go with him. Like, when we took Josh Palmer, we could have taken Higbee to have a comeback in the game, but I'd rather have Josh Palmer to go with Herbert because, like, Higbee I don't even like much. So, like, if he would have lasted to our next pick, I would have taken him, but we got sniped at Evan Ingram, who has, like, a guy I feel basically the same exact about as I do Higbee. This is interesting. I think we can start. I don't think I'm going to take another running back, so we can do that. I don't really want Byron Pringle. So I guess we'll draft one of these 5 people. I actually like the upside of Zay Jones reasonably. I don't hate Cedric Wilson. Cole Beasley could for sure be a guy that jumps up once he signs. Seeing the QBs available in this round, that's why I don't really like taking Winston where we took him, but made sense with the Olave correlation, and unfortunately, like with Claypool going the pick before us, really didn't know what to do with that pick anyway. So that was kind of like the only other person I was super interested in. Cole Beasley, Zay Jones. I do think there's some chance that Zay Jones ends up like the 2 in Jacksonville if Marv is kind of toast. All right. I don't know how nuts people will really get. Dude, this guy's so bad. But I don't really know how nuts people will get for Cole Beasley, even if he does sign. He does have 2 seasons in a row with 82 catches. So I don't know about that pick. It's pretty close between those 2. So we ended up with Herbert and Jameis for stack pieces. We've got Mike Williams and Josh Palmer, and then we have Chris Olave. We have definitely have some week 17 correlations in there. Not as heavy as I have been in other drafts, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm trying to not draft the same exact teams every single time. Let's take a look at the board real quick and see how some teams turned out. I really want to see how this zone offense team turned out, since I really like to start GD, Brees Hall, Russ, Treylon, Dawson Knox. Poof, man. I like Goddard so much more than Dawson Knox. That was a rough one. He's the one who ended up with Garrett Wilson, James Cook, Rojo, Tua. Got Tua to go with Tyreek. That's really nice. Got Kuabunum to go with Russ and Judy. Gainwell. Oh, he's the one who got Sony. Dude, so this guy drafted all of my people. Thank God he drafted Kendrick Bourne. He drafted one person I don't like out of all his picks. It definitely looks like the team to beat in this league, this Cooper Cup team. Wow, this team is dead. Just way too many running backs. The team is dead. Patrick Mahomes with no correlations. The team seems stinky. Lamar with obviously no correlations. I took the only ones there were. I wonder if that's the team that went that took Devin Duvernay. I guess he got a correlation in after all. I don't think that team's very good. Risk it for the biscuit with Kamara on this team. Ended up with Cousins, Zach Wilson, Mariota, and Goff. Don't like that. A little early on Aaron Jones for me, but I get it. This guy went Kyler Deshaun. Cole's team with Dalvin Cook and Swift. Met with Pittman and Hollywood. He got sniped on Kyler. Don't really like this J.K. Dobbins pick, but other than that, I really like this team. Don't really like Sky Moore. Scott Cook as a comeback for Aaron Rodgers. Got Tanyan. One with Romeo Dubs. Team's all right. The Allen Robinson team ended up with Stafford. Davis Mills and Tannehill. Two low-value quarterbacks with the same bye week to go with Dak. Probably would have only taken one of them. I like Davis Mills better than Tannehill, but I'm probably in the minority there. He ended up with Hurst and Darren Waller. So to me, Team 2 just seems head and shoulders better than every other team in this draft. Take a look back at our team. We got Derrick Henry. Then we kind of got an early QB and tight end, so we hammered wide receivers. Back to the RBs in this range. Picked up Winston. Let's look back at this Winston pick. So I wasn't going to take Spiller. Didn't really want Tyler Algier. None of the running backs that went in that range would I have even wanted. Guess we could have taken Njoku to close out tight end instead of Ingram here, and then just had a worse second quarterback. Kind of like just getting the correlation with Winston. So I don't know. It didn't feel like that pick was that bad. It just kind of sucks that Pickens went the pick before us, and then Higbee went a couple picks before us here. If Pickens falls here, and then maybe we get lucky and get Winston here, but then we wouldn't have Josh Palmer. I don't know. All in all, I think that draft went pretty good. Thank you guys for watching, and good luck in your drafts.